Well, welcome to this episode of the Peaceful Presence Podcast. I'm Olivia Figuered. My mission with this podcast is simple: to help you reconnect with God and discover the purpose, the peace, and the power that's within you. It's a new year, and I thought it would be the perfect time to talk about setting intentions for our spiritual growth. So let me ask you, do you ever feel like there's so much you want to do, but maybe you don't know where to start or wondering how you're going to fit it all in? And if that sounds familiar, I get it. I've been there too. And every day there's so much that's pulling at my attention, things that I have to do, and then there's things that I want to do. Lately, I've been a bit of a sponge. I want to read all the books, listen to all the teachings, tackle every project. But there's always another book. There's always another video, another goal. And I found myself feeling overwhelmed. And that's when I kept hearing God say, "Come to me." All of these resources are great and they definitely serve a purpose. But when they start to feel overwhelming, I have to lay them aside and go straight to the source. Because ultimately, I know that what I'm looking for in all of those things is my connection with my Creator. So today, I wanted to share 5 practical ways to draw closer to God. Maybe one of these will resonate with you, and you can start incorporating it into your daily routine. And if you have your own ways of deepening your relationship, I would love to hear them. So feel free to drop them in the comments. We're all in this journey together. So before we dive in, I just want to ask you, what is your word for the year? What do you feel that God is calling you to focus on in this season? For me, my word is discipline. Discipline in how I structure my day, how I follow through on commitments, what I say yes to, what I say no to, and how I stay focused on the goals that I know that God has placed in my heart. And so once you know what your word is, take a moment to ask God, what does He want me to do with this? So here are 5 ways to draw closer to God that have worked for me and helped me grow in my relationship with Him, and may do the same for you. So number 1 is go for a walk. And I know that might sound simple, but stepping away from your usual surroundings and taking a walk, it can be powerful. It's a chance to connect with God and with nature and His creation. And as you walk, talk to God. Thank Him for what you're grateful for. Share your struggles. Ask Him what He wants you to know or do. And most importantly, allow for some quiet time on your walk. God's voice is often this still small whisper that speaks through our spirit. So take time to listen for His answers, because they often get drowned out in the busyness of the everyday noise. Number 2 is to read His word. And I get it. Sometimes the Bible can feel very hard to read or to get through. But even just reading a page or a chapter or listening online, it can make a difference. And I like to ask God, where should I start? Help me understand what it is that I'm reading. The Bible reveals God's character. The Old Testament, it shows the story of man seeking God, while the New Testament reveals God's promises and how He came to us through Jesus. So as you're reading, if there's a verse or a scripture that speaks to you, write that down. Let it get ingrained in your spirit, and then ask God to show you how that scripture or that verse applies to your life. This year I've decided to dive back into the New Testament, and I'm starting with the book of Matthew. And if you want to join me, I would love you to do so. And as you're reading, if you come across, things that you have questions on or comments or thoughts, message me or put them in the comments below, and then we can explore those together, because I think we learn from each other. And I just want to help encourage you to get into His word, and it's a way for me to stay accountable with that as well too. Number 3, listen to uplifting testimonies. Revelation 12:11 says, "They overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony." So testimonies are powerful. They offer hope, strength, encouragement. And when you hear how others overcame their struggles, it reminds us that if God helped them, He's going to help me too. I share testimonies on this podcast But you can find stories everywhere that speak to your specific challenges. And I'll say this too, even if the testimonies don't speak of God directly, I know that when somebody finds the strength and the power within them to overcome something, that is a God-given strength and calling that has been placed in their heart by God. Number 4 is to journal. Find a quiet or a peaceful spot. Let your thoughts flow onto paper. It doesn't have to be long, just, whatever is on your heart. Writing helps us process feelings, gain clarity, and connect with God in a deeper way. And then when you're on your walks, you're clear about what to talk to God about. Number 5 would be worship music, and I say church and fellowship as well, because being around others who share your faith is a great way to be encouraged and strengthened, and hearing an inspirational message and teaching helps you to learn about God's character. So if you find a church or a small group that lifts your spirit, that's a great way to get connected. And then with worship music, it has the power to elevate our hearts, elevate our energy, and our connection ultimately to God. So when you're doing this to deepen your relationship with God, just make sure that the music you're listening to is faith-building, so it deepens your relationship with Him. So I hope that one or more of these 5 ways to grow closer to God resonated with you. Remember, it's not about doing it perfectly. It's just about taking those small intentional steps toward a deeper connection with Him. And remember, if you enjoy faith-building and inspirational content, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Your support encourages me to keep creating content that helps encourage others. Have a great day, everyone.